Once upon a time, there's a boy who liked to talk about video games. Yes, video games. Caught you off guard there, didn't I? He had talked about video games roughly 40 times. But today is something different. Something he won't expect.
It's that time of year again. The time of year where you get to hang up your oddly specific Christmas lights, drink from your Christmas mug, and talk about something you can probably never guess. What we need to do is find a game that would be perfect for Christmas time. I mean, come on. Can you guess why?
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
An absolute classic.
One of the worst games ever.
I retract my statement.
This is the one and only video game for the 1964 TV special under the same name. Every time I put this game in, my head starts hurting.
Also, something smells burnt.
Now, of course, what is the point of this?
I ask that question to myself every day.
This is a game that released for the Nintendo Wii and DS in 2010, and this is a Mario Party minigame style clone. Of course, let's just take a look at the game on the Wii since, yeah, can you believe it? Now, of course, this doesn't seem like a bad idea. You could take your time, iron things out, have a full-on party mode, and even see what kind of characters you could play as. It's the record holder for the shortest game ever. This game is an example of mediocrity. Just look at it. It already looks suspicious from the pictures on the box.
Lock him up for life!
So this is basically a minigame collection of 4 minigames, each with its own motion controls and time limit. And when I say 4, I mean 4. Not 20, not 10, not even 5, just 4 minigames. And the entire game can be beaten in 15 minutes. Yes, you heard me right, 15 minutes. That's shorter than the actual TV special. And you know what's even worse? The controls. Trying to play this game is almost impossible, but the game works best if you just mindlessly waggle the Wii remote around. That's how I beat most of the game. The first minigame is just to bounce around ornaments on a tree. It's a simple minigame you have to tilt the Wii remote for. Now, what's the problem with this, you may ask? The issue is the minigame is a copy. This is essentially Fire from the Game & Watch game in 1980 with just a Christmas skin wrapped over it. Incredibly simple, incredibly short. You do have to sort things out that would go in a tree or would go in Santa's bag, but I'm not buying that if this is something completely original because I'm sure there's a game that you need to sort out stuff like this. I mean, come on. The second minigame is more like a carnival game this time. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Around the time, the carnival-type motion games on the Wii were very popular. Now, I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, just as long as the other games are good. Well, if I can get anything else than the elf saying good job every 2 seconds, that would be immediately better. I'm already through the majority of this game, and I haven't really said one good thing yet. I think this is bad. But of course, the next minigame, yes, the one that kind of looks empty with just me by myself. It's kind of like a cookie minigame that you need to make gingerbread cookies.
That's something I can do with my eyes closed. Or just waggle a Wii remote and you'll be fine.
But honestly, it's kind of empty because this one clearly was made for a one-on-one battle. You have 3 different types of motions that you need to do this time around, and it gets really repetitive. And the final minigame on this list is that you need to deliver presents to the children just for one street. Why? Just one street?
Because they think you're not ready for the world yet.
This game is really just easy. You need to throw presents onto houses. Sure, if you get onto a chimney, you get the most amount of points, but honestly, you can miss the chimney and still get points. Sometimes the game can be broken and not give you the proper amount of points. Or just keep throwing presents and hope you make it.
Incredibly dim and incredibly dull this game is. Just weird, to be honest.
I'm sorry, excuse me, what? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on Nintendo DS. This is the same story as the Wii version. This is a cash grab for the Rudolph brand on the DS as well as the Wii. This is an extremely similar minigame collection as what the Wii kinda did. This time, these are single-player oriented games. Well, why would it be multiplayer? This game has 4 different story paths to take this time, which takes around 3 hours of normal gameplay to complete. I'm sorry, what? Rudolph's story is a pet simulator. Yeah, I'm sure that'll get every 10-year-old excited. And you can't possibly fail at this one. I don't know what I was doing. Somehow I completed it without any issues. The next one is a matching game. I don't know what prompted them to do this, but seriously? This one is about as difficult as trying to figure out a McDonald's order. Now, what's the deal with the next one?
Laziness?
A Photoshop-style minigame? And it even isn't that good of a game? I just threw in one thing and called it a day.
Hey, if they can be lazy, so can I.
The next minigame is that you need to draw an outline for the toy you're trying to make, and you can't even possibly fail at this one. Trust me, I've tried. Which this game does have multiple phases to go through. I skipped over quite a bit of this because I lost my interest about 10-15 minutes into it, but the minigames are really repetitive. About an hour and a half into the game, it starts getting extremely repetitive, the same minigames over and over. The Wii version was more promising than the DS game, and the Wii version's still done terrible.
I mean, this is really just nothing more than, oh, this is cute. That's my dinner from yesterday. This game had the same ambitions as what Christmas Shopping Simulator had. At least this game had a rating. But of course, this game isn't what we really was looking for. I mean, do I really want to play a pet simulator? I don't know, we just need to find something else. Achoo! Oh, come on! Yeah, it looks like I'm still in the desert. I mean, yeah, it's not as bad as what you think. I mean, I hallucinated this handheld here. Hallucinations are a pain.
So we have a little dilemma. We never found a great game for Christmas. I mean, was I just going to be okay with disappointment?
Sure.
Now how about we flip things around? Grinch for the PS1, not the DS, not the PS4. How many are these? Grinch for the PS1. Oh boy, this isn't going to be fun. First, let's start with the Grinch puzzle for Atari. Sorry, the Grinch for PS1 and Game Boy Color. So the Grinch released in 2000 for PC, Dreamcast, PS1, and Game Boy Color. The home console version is essentially a 3D platformer game where you have to go around and steal presents, and with the common theme at the time is that the handheld game is something different. Yeah, the handheld version is just a stealth game.
Yeah, sure, whatever you say.
This game, I would say, loosely follows the plot of the movie. I would say probably the resemblance of the Scare Whoville part.
I don't know. Do you think I have internet out here?
But anywho, this is a video game tie-in to the movie, so how does the game stand? So let's ask the same question together. Why did this game do so terribly?
Says the same person who didn't do the research beforehand.
The home console version is just a 3D platformer, and this game has you playing as the Grinch.
Whoa, seriously?
Which this game has 4 main areas to explore: Whoville, Who Forest, Who Lake, and Mount Crumpet. The start of the game has a jump scare just to warn you, it's his voice. Yeah, unfortunately they found someone to sound nothing like Jim Carrey to do Jim Carrey's voice. And they got the same person that did the voice for the Super Ego and Beetlejuice TV show to voice the narrator. But anywho, the plot goes that the Grinch plans to take over Christmas.
Isn't that what the Grinch does?
But this time he has blueprints.
Were you expecting something?
With a mountain of boxes.
What?
He goes and he makes gadgets with blueprints in order to carry out his plan, which unfortunately his blueprints go flying everywhere, and now we need to go recover blueprints while pulling pranks on Whoville and destroying presents. And that's literally the whole plot of the game. Sure, you can't get too crazy with the original plot of the half-hour TV special or else you stray too far from the Grinch, but this is supposed to follow the 2000 movie, which spanned for a total of almost 2 hours, and somehow they thought blueprints was something they might include in the movie? Sure, the development times are lengthy for both movies and games, but movies generally have at least some sort of idea of the plot during the beginning. This game tries to capture the humor and charm from the film, yet it falls flat on its face. The visuals are pretty decent though for a PS1 game, and honestly this game seems a bit charming to me. Maybe it brings me back to a simpler time where every movie got a video game to promote it. With this game, I can't say the same to this one like I did about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but I can say the same to that. Boy, this game is really repetitive. Literally, the Wikipedia article mentions that you can jump.
That's some advanced stuff there.
And you have other moves too, like ground pound and a smelly breath.
That's an ability? I thought that was what scares off women.
You can use various gadgets and vehicles throughout the game as you progress, so the game isn't entirely repetitive now. Well, now I can do the same thing while flying into the sky. This game gets really dull quite quickly. The part I remember the most is the annoying part of the endless hugging. I don't know if it's just this game or it's just me, but it freezes for a brief moment when a cutscene happens. Not loading, just a cutscene. And that was it for the home console and PC version. The Game Boy Color version is next, and this one, oh boy.
You think that's tough?
So the Grinch game on Game Boy Color tells the game in sort of like a slideshow fashion, which actually has very good art style for it. This, however, falls victim to the handheld ports of the early 2000s, which means that the handheld game is nothing like the home console. I will never acknowledge your existence. This game, however, is a stealth Pac-Man maze style game where you have to get all the presents in the maze. I mean, this game is really repetitive here. You can go through a maze, usually with no hassle. A level can have multiple mazes to try to spice things up, but it just ends up falling flat on its face and being really repetitive very quickly. More quickly than what it thinks it's being. And this game fell victim to the password saved, which you may be saying, well, this was before they had fancy technology. May I remind you, Pokemon, Legend of Zelda, Metal Gear Solid, all having battery saves to get rid of the password confusion mess they called password saves. And this game is just a jumbled mess. It has a bunch of faces and math included. And this game tries to give some variety of what you're playing with Max from the movie as well, but it's identical to the Grinch when playing him, so I don't know why they even tried. And you do get various abilities to play with, and also new gameplay mechanics about a bit away in the game. Why? I mean, it's the same situation as the doll. Gameplay is extremely similar. But what can I say now? This is the Grinch game on Game Boy Color, and this is the Grinch game on PS1. But do I have time for any other Christmas games?
Only brought these games with me. Don't ask.
I definitely would not recommend Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on Wii and DS. Play the Grinch game instead. At least you can spend more than an hour on it. And don't play the Grinch game on Game Boy Color. Play the PS1 game.
I mean, yeah, what'd you expect? This is the obvious choice. I'd be caught dead before I played the other one again. But of course, this is the desert. We need to find a way out of here. I did hear, though, somewhere, I can't remember where, that you can start an avalanche if you just jump randomly, so... What? Whoa! That's a weird dream there. So I realize now that I can't just talk bad about games all the time. Eventually, it's going to catch up to me. Now, luckily, it was only a nightmare. But, anywho, who wants to talk about Rudolph?
And that was the story of how I got stranded in the desert.